Hey everybody, Aaron here from the Cool Guys Nation, and welcome to... I do apologize for the state of the office behind me. I am still in the process of reorganizing and cleaning up a number of projects that I have going on right now, which is about 3. It's just a few too many for the layout of the room. I've had to take out a bunch of my magic cards and books and rearrange things, so it will get put back together soon. Don't worry. And truthfully, I really should be painting right now, but I'm not. So let's talk. Once again, I am starting out with our good friend Bruno. Bruno, you never disappoint. You keep sending me these amazing, amazing updates, and I just have to show them off. Once again, we have an update on his church, and just look for yourself. Yep. His chimney's smoking.
Okay.
Pretty cool. Next up, we are going over to a Facebook group called Warhammer 40k and Age of Sigmar Trade Buy Sell for USA and Canada. This is a public group. You can just go ahead and join it. And what you will find is lots and lots of stuff for sale. So if you're looking for a great place to buy or sell your minis, go ahead and check out this Facebook group. You can't go wrong. Before we get to the Warhammer community, which, oh man, there's so much to talk about. I know you know that there's a lot to talk about, but there's so much to talk about. Let's drop over to Hobby Zone. I actually just bought some Hobby Zone stuff. And if we go over to YouTube, and we go to my channel, you will see that I just posted a video called Assembling the Hobby Zone Modular Workshop System. I just bought this and I love it. I've been looking at it for a long time, so I want to show off their website. This picture is fantastic. You can buy all these different pieces and you can orient them however you wish. Check it out. So this is like their display picture, and they got a cool video. It is, it's really cool. I absolutely love the Hobby Zone so far. I did about that much. So I didn't do this corner over here, and I did put the end pieces on. They're magnetic, they come apart. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. hobbyzone.pl, check them out. But boom! Over to Warhammer Community. Now, I know that they've been doing a lot of posts every day, and some people have been doing daily posts on it. I'm just going to bulk mine together and go through it as quick as possible. One note, I am not an expert at lore, so I am skipping over the posts that they've put out about lore because I don't really know the lore that great, which I understand. I know it makes me strange. I'm a 40k player, and the lore for me is just not that relevant, so I'm not even going to pretend. I'm just going to ignore it, and we're going to take a look at what other updates. So, Warhammer 40k large models. They are starting to show us how large models work, and guess what? They work pretty much like large models in Age of Sigmar. So, they're going to have a ton of wounds. This Morkanaut, 18 wounds. It's got its ballistic skill, its strength, its toughness, but you have these little stars on movement and weapon skill and attacks, and these stars correlate to the amount of wounds that it has left. So between 10 and 18, it can move 8. It's got a weapon skill of 3 and 4 attacks. When you get down to 1 to 4, it has a movement of 4, a weapon skill of 5, and only 2 attacks. So this is what they've been doing with Age of Sigmar for a long time, well, since the beginning, and now they are doing with 40k. Personally, I really like that. Next up, faction focus. I'm not going to go through every single faction focus. I know that there are people out there who love their factions and you want these updates. I personally love my factions and I've been looking at my updates, but you can go to the Warhammer community and look for the updates for each faction and go through and check out what they're saying. A lot of great information there to let you know what's happening with your particular army. Infantry. Okay, so in one of the previous videos, we noticed that unlike Age of Sigmar, the models do not have a to wound roll. So in Age of Sigmar, you have an infantry model its sword is gonna hit on a 4 and it's gonna wound on a 5. They still are doing comparative wounding in 40k, and they have this little chart. So you look at the strength of your gun. If it's 2 times or more than the toughness, you need a 2+. If it's just greater, you need a 3+. If it's equal, 4. If it's lower, 5. If it's half, 6. Now this is important because something will always be able to hurt something. So that Morkanaut, which I believe was toughness 8, if you're looking at a bolter, which is a strength 4, 4 is half, so you're rolling on 6s. However, it has 18 wounds, so you know it'll take a lot of bolter fire to take down a Morkanaut, but at least it's not impossible. Next, we're going to take a look at characters. They have done a lot to characters, and those characters, the changes that they've made to those characters, again, is following the same vein as Age of Sigmar. Characters are going to have a lot of wounds, and they will not be able to join units, so you can no longer build a Death Star. You can't hide things behind inside of other squads. However, there are 2 new rules. Rule number 1, okay, 3 new rules. Rule number 1, characters, their special abilities are going to be based off keywords. So, for example, if you have Ultramarines, then your Ultramarine character will only affect other Ultramarines. It will not affect White Scars, even if you throw them near each other. So you can't star bubble everything again. 2, for characters that have under 10 wounds, you may not target them unless they're the closest model to you. So you can still take your big character with 9 wounds or less and hide them behind your infantry and walk up the battlefield. We're going back to 4th edition rules here. Shoot at the nearest thing. I like that a lot. I always thought that that made a lot of sense. I do understand target priority and whatever, and you might try to pick out somebody else. But if it has 10 or more wounds, you can shoot at whatever you want, wherever you want. So you're not going to be able to hide your characters in squads. You're not going to be able to make massive squads of all sorts of crazy characters. You will not be able to stack abilities between factions, so you can't join, again, an Ultramarine and a White Scar and a Dark Angel and put them all in the same squad. You can't do that anymore, or even affect your basic models. But you also can now hide them and move up the board and not have to worry about them getting sniped, essentially, immediately. Going, oh, that guy? Snipey, snipe, snipe. So that's pretty cool. You can still put them in dedicated transports, and you can put other multiple infantry units into dedicated transports. Weapons, part 2. There's going to be a lot of changes to weapons. In this one, they're focusing on twin linked. So twin linked is going to double the number of shots. Very cool. Combi weapons. You can now shoot both your special weapon, your combi attachment, and your normal gun. You're going to have a modifier, though, of -1. Yeah, so just lots of rules. Also strength, right? AP. So we're seeing that Melt-A-Gun is -4. D6. If the target of this weapon is within half range, roll 2 dice. Cool beans. Explosives. No more templates. Instead, it's a random number to hit and a random number to damage, which is essentially the same thing, but I do miss my templates. I love templates. Data sheets. Guess what? Same thing that they've been alluding to for a long time, and the same thing they're doing in Age of Sigmar. When you take your Rubric Marines or any other ones, you're going to have this cool data sheet. Oh. You know what? Let's just pause for 2 seconds. All right, data sheets. So, Age of Sigmar has data sheets, meaning that when you pay for your data sheet, you get all of that stuff on one card. This is the corn, Blades of Corn cards. You buy this separate, and here's every single corn unit. And you just take out your sheet, and it has all the rules on it. They're giving us an example here. It's pretty nice. It makes it a lot easier to keep track of all your stuff, including special rules. So you don't have to go, well, what does this mean? Let me check this book. Oh, wait, it's not in that book. It's in the core rule book. Oh, wait a minute. My core rule book is out of date. Let me check the online book. Yeah, all of that done, gone, and good riddance. Points and power levels. So this is really cool. So you can have points, or you can have power levels. So when you play a scenario, each of your data sheets is going to have a power level, which is right here. And you can add up all those power levels, and then when you play your scenario, it'll tell you if you have more power level, you have to be the attacker. If you have less power level, you have to play the defender. And the defender has a different victory condition than the attacker, and so therefore it builds in a bit of balance. I like that. I like that a lot. So pay attention to power levels, pay attention to your scenarios. It should be a really good mashup. Stratagems. So you don't have to take a battle-forged army. But if you do take a battle-forged army, as we talked about a couple weeks ago, you're going to get something called stratagems. And depending on how much battle forging you do, you can get more or less stratagem points. These points can be used for special abilities in the game. For example, you spend 1 point, you can reroll any single die. You spend 2 points, you can select one of your own eligible units to fight next. So in close combat, you can go first or second, I guess, just forcing yourself in. For 2, you can automatically pass a single morale test. So that's very cool. The point of that is essentially a battle forged army is, you know, your 1 to 2 HQ and 5 troops and blah blah blah, and as you build it up, instead of just saying, hey, you know what, I'm gonna just take 15 land raiders, yeah, you know, and you're like, oh, what am I supposed to do about armor 14 and everything, you know? So it gives you a lot of incentive to make a well-balanced force. I like that. Not that people aren't going to find a way to break it and give up the stratagem points for the stinky list that absolutely does amazing. But hopefully the power level will also help determine whether or not you're going to win. So, yeah. Tactical reserves. Reserves, completely different. They're completely different. Pretty much everything has to start on the board unless a unit has a specific statement in the unit's abilities that allow it to essentially come on the board later. Same thing with Age of Sigmar, okay? There's no reserves at the beginning of the game. You just have, you know, different units that can come into play in different ways. So, for example, if you take a Trigun, then the Trigun has this special rule that says it can come underground, and then it can, in your movement phase, pop out anywhere on the battlefield so long as it's more than 9 inches away from enemy models. Seems very familiar. That's because it's the same as the general rule for Age of Sigmar, of course. And then, to represent the hole that it dug, you can also place some other units with it, and if you do, they come out at the same time within 3 inches of the Trigun. 3 inches. Why does that sound familiar? Oh, because pretty much everything in Age of Sigmar has either those 2 rules. 3 inches or 9 inches. Wow. What a surprise. Not sure how this is going to work because it means that there's going to be a lot of unique stuff going on. So we're just going to have to wait and see. Vehicles. Annihilation Barge. So this looks very different. That's what it says right here. Very different. And it is different. Here's your stats. Movement 12, weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 3, strength 5, toughness 6, 8 wounds, attacks 3, leadership 10, save 4 plus. Guess what? No armor. No armor penning. Just wounds. I like that a lot. Although I'm sure there's still going to be a bunch of other rules that go along with it. Overall, I think what they're doing is going to be fantastic. Close combat weapons. Alright, so let's look at some of the close combat weapons. So we've got still the similar strength modifier. +1, +2 to core strength. We have our AP, which is, you know, armor piercing, which is going to be, you know, you look at their armor and then you subtract that. So if they're at a 2-up, a 2-up minus 2 becomes a 4-up. A 2-up minus 3 becomes a 5-up. And then damage 1, and then any special abilities. So each time the bearer fights, it can make 1 additional attack with this weapon. Great. We already looked at that one. Let's go to the Power Fist. So Power Fist is going to be strength times 2, AP minus 3, D3 damage. When attacking this weapon, you must subtract 1 from the hit roll. So you're no longer going at initiative, you're just going when you move in and it's your turn to go, which of course will be further defined by the rules. However, Power Fists are a little bit harder to hit with. That's cool. So yeah, there you go. Very similar to Age of Sigmar, with the exception of you have an AP instead of just saying exactly what you're gonna hit. So Stronghold Assault. This is a special type of game that you can play. Okay? Stronghold Assault game players use the following additional stratagems. So this is going down the narrative side. There's going to be a lot more fluff and a lot more cool stuff. And they're starting to show some of these different ways that you can play. I think that's fantastic. Transports. All right. There is a lot of stuff to go on with transports. Okay? Disembarking. Units now disembark at the start of the movement phase before the transports move, but can then move, shoot, and fire normally. So you can't move your transport and disembark. You have to disembark at the beginning of the movement phase. Guess what? These guys, Age of Sigmar, well, this one's not a transport, but they have transports. That's the same rule. Yeah, so you can see that they're doing a lot of merging. Same rule for if the vehicle dies and people are inside of it, you roll a d6 for each model. If you roll a 1, they die. Same thing that they're doing in Age of Sigmar. These things are totally linked. That's it. You are up to date. I am up to date. I'm sure that more stuff will come out later, and we are rapidly approaching the release of 8th edition, which makes me very, very excited. I will keep covering this in I Should Be Painting, although I do want to get back to more cool projects that people have been working on. So, until next time, this has been Aaron from the Cool Guys Nation.